Hi, my name is DJ Roberts, and I'm going to be presenting on the history of the Wechsler intelligence scale. David Wechsler was born in 1896, and in 1917 he got his master's from Columbia University and served in the United States Army 2 years later in 1919. Once he returned in 1925, he finished and got his PhD at Columbia University. His dissertation reported work on psychogalvanic response and emotion. During his early career, he worked as chief psychologist at New York's Bellevue Hospital. Here he would stay for most of his career, nearly 30 years until 1967. It was here that Wechsler's drive to develop IQ tests was sparked. During his experience testing with the Stanford Binet at Bellevue Hospital, he began to grow frustrated that its content was only appropriate for children. So he decided to develop his own battery, the Wechsler Bellevue Intelligence Scale. This new battery was geared specifically towards the measurement of adult intelligence. Previously, mental age couldn't be extended beyond 18 with the battery that he was using. So he defined normal intelligence as the mean test score for all members of an age group. This way, the mean could then be represented by 100 on a standard scale. Here, we have a chronology of the early tests developed by Dr. Wechsler and his associates. His first, which we just reviewed, the Wechsler Bellevue, this had 6 verbal and 5 performance subtests. 7 years later, he developed the Wechsler Bellevue 2, which unfortunately was never adequately standardized. In 1949, 10 years after his first test, he developed the WISC. Ironically, this was a children's IQ test, and he applied the standardized scale to children. In 1955, he developed the WACE. Here we have a picture of the very first WISC manual. For anybody that hasn't given an IQ test or has seen somebody give an IQ test, you should know that this is essentially your Bible when it comes to this particular test. Here, inside this book, you learn the ins and outs of giving that particular test, which is critical for standardization and generalizability of results. Here's the method for measuring intelligence that I referred to in the previous slide. Instead of using Terman's approach with the Stanford Binet to calculate an IQ score, Wechsler determined how far a person's score deviates from a bell-shaped normal distribution of scores. Most intelligence tests now use this system. The middle is the mean score, and each line is one standard deviation from the mean. As you can see, 68% fall within the average range, which is 85 to 115. And that final number is called the full-scale IQ, which is at the top. We can analyze this score, and it's made up of the verbal IQ and the performance IQ, 2 different categories. These categories can be further broken down into smaller subscales: verbal comprehension index, working memory index, perceptual organization index, and processing speed index. Below those are the actual subtests that make up the full-scale IQ. Here is a practice question that is very similar to that used on the WISC. Do you see the 4 boxes? In the top row, the pictures go together in a certain way. Now, look at the bottom row. Do you see the empty box? Which of the 4 pictures on the slide goes with the picture in the bottom box the same way the 2 pictures in the top row go together? And then the child would then have a certain amount of time to answer this question before you move on. Since the 1970s, intelligence researchers have been trying to preserve the usefulness of intelligence tests while making sure that they aren't biased to class or culture. One way to address this is to update the tests so they better reflect the abilities of test takers from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds. By developing new, more sophisticated ways of creating, administering, and interpreting these tests, we can produce new theories and tests that broaden the concept of intelligence beyond its traditional boundaries. Wechsler, as you can see on the right, would go on to create 5 more versions of the WISC. The WISC 3 created in 1991, as you see here to the left, using a stopwatch to measure time to complete certain subtests such as block design and picture completion. Here is the WISC 5, the latest addition in the WISC series, as I previously mentioned. This updated whisk has more interpretive power and is more efficient and user-friendly. It also has updated psychometric properties. This version of the whisk is also available on the iPad, which has been used often in schools and in private practices to save time and maximize efficiency. In 1981, Dr. Wechsler died of lung cancer, leaving behind a tremendous legacy. Through a partnership with the American Psychological Foundation, Wechsler's family, including son Leonard and grandsons Daniel and Neil, recently established the David Wechsler Early Career Grant for Innovative Work in Cognition, which is awarded to early career psychologists pursuing innovative work in neuropsychology, intelligence, or the assessment aspects of cognition. This $25,000 grant will go to one applicant each year. The grant reflects Dr. Wechsler's work ethic, which his son Leonard put very nicely. He never quit working and was always looking for new and interesting ideas and people to work with. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.